dire weather, or I could go into the forest fasting for like 5 days without any food, right? That's like renunciation. At the same time, you know, wife willing to listen to her husband for 60 to 80 minutes. That's not a bad renunciation at all. So that's nice.
I'm not scared.
Krishna. Okay, we will be going on with your regular Bhagavatam reading. So I was informed it's Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 38. And today is July 18th, 2021. So Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 38. And we will start by invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam dhirayet. Nasta preshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Okay, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 38. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Sampradishya.
Sampradishya.
Evam. Ajana. Jananam. Paramesthinam. Pasyataha. Tasya. Tatrupam. Atmanaha. Niyarunat. Hari. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Sampadishyaivam ajano. Jananam paramesthinam. Ashyatastasya tatrupam. Atmano niyarunadari. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Sampradishyaivam ajano. Jananam paramesthinam. Ashyatastasya tatrupam. Atmano niyarunat dari. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Sampradishyaivam ajano. Jananam paramesthinam. Ashyatastasya tatrupam. Atmano niyarunat dharihi.
Shri Shuka Uvacha. Sampradishyaivam ajano. Jananam parameshtinam. Ashyatastasya tadrupam. Atmano nyarunadari.
Shri Shuka Vacha.
Shri Shuko Vacha.
Vachaiva Machano. Sampadisha
Majano. Jananam Parameshtinam.
Asyatastasya tatrupam.
Asyatastasya tadrupam.
Atmano yadunagami.
Atmano Nyarunadari.
Shri Sukha Vacha.
Shri Shuko Vacha.
Sampadisya Vanajano.
Sampadishya Majano.
Jananam Paramaskinam.
Jananam Parameshtinam.
Ashyatastasya tadrupam.
Pasyatastasya tadrupam.
Atmano Nyarunadari.
Atmano Nyarunadari.
Someone else wants to chant?
Sri Sukha Uvacha
Shri Shuko Vacha.
Sampradishai Vamajano
Sampradisha Vanajano.
Jananam Parameshtinam
Jananam Parameshtinam.
Pashyatastasya tadrupam
Asyatastasya tadrupam.
Atmano Nirunadari.
Atmano Nyarunadari.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shukovacha.
Shri Shukadev Goswami said,
Shri Shukadev Goswami said,
Sampradishya,
Sampratisha,
fully instructing Brahmaji,
fully instructing Brahmaji,
Evam,
Evam,
thus,
thus,
Ajanaha,
Ajana,
the Supreme Lord,
the Supreme Lord,
Jananam,
Jananam,
of the living entities,
of the living entities,
Parameshtinam,
Parameshtinam,
unto the Supreme Leader Brahma,
unto the Supreme Leader Brahma,
Pashyataha,
Vashyata,
while he was seeing,
while he was seeing,
Tasya,
Tasya,
his,
his,
Tatrupam,
Tatrupam,
that transcendental form,
that transcendental form,
Atmanaha,
Atmanaha,
of the Absolute,
of the Absolute,
Yarunat,
Yarunat,
disappeared.
disappeared.
He,
Hari,
the Lord, the personality of Godhead.
the Lord, the personality of Godhead.
For those who just joined, we are reading Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 38. Translation. Shukadev Goswami said to Maharaj Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, after being seen in his transcendental form, instructing Brahmaji, the leader of the living entities, disappeared. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, it is clearly mentioned that the Lord is Ajanaha, or the Supreme Person, and that he was showing his transcendental form, Atmano Rupam, to Brahmaji while instructing him in the summarization of Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 verses. He is Ajanaha, or the Supreme Person, amongst Jananam, or all persons. All living entities are individual persons, and amongst all such persons, Lord Hari is supreme, as confirmed in the Shruti mantra, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. So there is no place for impersonal features in the transcendental world, as there are impersonal features in the material world. Whenever there is Chetana, or knowledge, the personal feature comes in. In the spiritual world, everything is full of knowledge, and therefore everything in the transcendental world, the land, the water, the tree, the mountain, the river, the man, the animal, the bird, everything is of the same quality, namely Chetana. And therefore everything there is individual and personal. Srimad Bhagavatam gives us this information as the supreme Vedic literature, and it was personally instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Brahmaji, so that the leader of the living entities might broadcast the message to all the universe in order to teach the supreme knowledge of Bhakti Yoga. Brahmaji in his turn instructed Narada, his beloved son, the same message of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Narada in his turn taught the same to Vyasadeva, who again taught it to Shukadev Goswami. Through Shukadev Goswami's grace and by the mercy of Maharaj Parikshit, we are all given Srimad Bhagavatam perpetually to learn the science of the absolute personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Om Ainana Timirandhasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavari Pastyata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are right after the moment during which Lord Krishna instructed Lord Brahma the Chatur Shloka, the four seed shlokas, the four seed nutshell verses, and he guided him to remain fixed in the concentration on these four shlokas, and then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, disappeared in his transcendental form. He displayed his transcendental form to Brahma to instruct him the main principles. And I was very intrigued in this purport. Prabhupada writes, whenever there is Chaitana or knowledge, the personal feature comes in. So the knowledge, the true knowledge is connected with the person. It's personal. Yes. Yeah, because in the material world there is difference between the personal and the impersonal, and often, or at least in my case, I am engaged in the impersonal kind of things. So investigating how various things work, thinking about what to buy, what I need to fix, which plant I want to grow, which plants I want to harvest, what shall I eat when I will go to bed, what book I will read. And as we are instructed in the second Chatur Shloka, the second seed verses, anything that appears to be of any value, if it's not connected with the Supreme Lord, it's not even real. So that's not knowledge if it's not connected to the Supreme Lord. So anything we do can be connected with the Lord, and that is based on the real knowledge, and that's also contained in the four shlokas. In the first shloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead says, Aham eva sam eva gre naniyat sat asat param. So I was there before the creation, and I will be there also when this creation finishes. So he is the source of all. So if we look at things, at ourselves, at our thoughts, relationships, all the things, the source of all sources is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that's the basis of real knowledge. So then the knowledge has intrinsically a personal feature. I was thinking that I will be sharing more like from my experiences, and not to like just speak about like philosophy, but in the end I'm like, okay, I rather speak about the philosophy because I'm better at philosophy, so I will be dovetailing my nature and be fine if my presentation will not be full of personal sharings. So, but we shall see. I'm hopeful and a little bit intentional to also include personal experiences. Maybe when we discuss the external energy, I could have many personal experiences. So knowledge, Prabhupada here writes the Shruti mantra, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. So a Chetana, that's the quality of the spiritual world. Chit potency, like you've read in the previous purport, the first Chintamani shloka, Chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpa vriksha laksha vrteshu. So that's the description of the spiritual world. So everything in the spiritual world is a person and has consciousness. Chetana means consciousness. And consciousness is a symptom of a living entity, of the spirit soul. And with consciousness, with Chetana, there are some things that come with it. With consciousness comes activity and choice. So we have a minor, very small choice about what? It's not really about like choice what I will be doing, because the doing is determined by the body. It's choice about where will I drive my focus, my attention. So the living entity, the spirit soul, has two facilities: the free choice, and the free choice is about where to put our attention. And sometimes instead of attention, I will be saying focus, because for me it's easier to say focus. But the other word is probably better. So yeah, like for example, in the process of the spiritual growth, coaching, and this stuff, it's all about putting our focus, putting our light, the torchlight, on the things that we do not see or we don't want to see, and thus gradually discover ourselves. Gradually discover ourselves as the spirit soul. So come to the real knowledge. As it's described here, and knowledge is personal. So that for me was striking in this purport, like the connection between knowledge and person. Because if you look in Bhagavad Gita, the 10th chapter that we are currently studying, Prabhupada says that knowledge is the facility or ability, something like that, to make distinctions between matter and spirit. And that's in a sense the same, because if we can make proper distinction, we come to the realization of the spirit soul. And knowledge is also defined in Bhagavatam, in the third canto. Lord Kapil Dev says, Nanam Nishreyasya Taya Purushasyatma Darshanam Tam Ahur Varnaye Tatte Hrdaya Granti Vedanam. Knowledge is the ultimate perfection of self-realization. I shall explain that knowledge unto you, by which the knots of attachment to the material world are cut. So, by knowledge, we get two things. We get self-realization, that's the Atma Darshanam. Lord Kapil Dev says, Purusha Syatma Darshanam in that verse. So Atma Darshanam, we can see ourselves as we are, and gradually we can also see the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Spirit. And also what happens is Hrdaya Granti Vedanam. We cut, or the knot of the material attraction is cut, because when we realize ourselves, then we are in full knowledge of the fact that we do not need eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and there are various forms and combinations to serve our purpose. Yeah, and Prabhupada follows in this purport that this knowledge comes in the disciplic succession. Beginning with Krishna, that's important. Beginning of every stream of knowledge, stream of perfect knowledge and understanding must be the Supreme Source, the original source, so the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not something that's just made up, like we sang in the morning, Guru Mukha Padmavakya Chitete Koryo Aikya. So my wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. That's the sentence. And it means that we should follow the words of the spiritual master, and do not invent anything more, anything else, because what the spiritual master says is the most perfect thing for our progress towards knowledge, towards self-realization. Yeah, and the impersonal knowledge is intrinsically incomplete and imperfect. Let's say I have a ship. I have a ship that can sail on the sea, right? So I can learn how to. I can learn so many things about the ship, right? I can learn how to manage the sails. I can investigate how much load the ship can actually contain before it sinks down. I can even learn how to steer the ship and move the ship around the dock. At the same time, that's nice. Like from a mundane perspective, we could say that that's some understanding, that's some knowledge that I have. But from the perspective of pure reason, it's not very helpful. There is something missing, because I need to know where should I go with the ship. Because it's nice that I can drive the ship, operate the ship, I can load the ship, I can get something in and out. But if I do not know where to go with the ship, all the knowledge, so-called knowledge about the ship is quite useless. So the real knowledge is about our destination and where should we focus. So this knowledge comes to us through Srila Prabhupada, who gives us the guidance, and the major guidance is to chant the holy names, especially in the form Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yes, that's the recommended process. That's coming through the disciplic succession, and it's not just chanting. The chanting really is chanting and hearing, because hearing is important because it's connected with the consciousness. If I attentively hear, that means I'm trying to soak in the vibration. I'm actually using my spiritual energy and a facility to please Krishna, because I can train my body to chant. I think every one of us who chants at least for some time can chant japa, for example, and do so many things while doing it. I can do so many things. I can go on my smartphone, look at my emails. I can even watch videos on YouTube while chanting japa. I can speak with, someone can speak. I can try to hear from someone else while chanting japa. So we can train the body to do the thing. And by that, we will be pleasing Krishna less than when we will endeavor to hear. It's about the endeavor to hear and to focus our spiritual energy on the holy name, because the focus is not coming from the mind, it's not coming from the intelligence. The focus is coming from the spirit soul. And it's like Prabhupada puts the example, putting the iron into the fire. So if I hear, that means if I say Krishna, I hear Krishna. That's not that difficult, but it may become difficult if I kind of get the wrong habit of processing my thoughts during japa in the morning. Now comes the personal sharing. So today in the morning, I was thinking about today's class. So that's not recommended. I was thinking about having a white BMW would be nice. And then I went with Bhumi on japa walk. So I was thinking about Bhumi, certainly. So yeah, we can think about so many things. We can make plans. We can try to resolve our fears it's all about processing our thoughts and not really being with the vibration, because we just trained the yantra, trained the mind and body to automatically chant, and that's not really enlivening even for the spirit soul. And there is some heat coming through, but it's not like putting the iron directly into the fire. There is some difference between being close to the fire, so there is some effect, definitely, but it's different than being in the middle of the fire. And the fire is the fire of Satchit and Ananda. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, that's the same. So we can connect through our chit potency. The spirit can connect with spirit through the focus. Yes, yeah, because either like we as a spirit soul, we require some shelter. Like there is a need, like a psychologist could say, there is a need to feel safe, to feel safe. That we have an intrinsic need to feel complete. So either we seek the completeness and shelter in the external world, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, or its various forms, or we take shelter of the nama, of the holy name, and that's the recommended process. Kalerdoša nidhe rajan asti hyeko mahat gunan kirtanat eva krishnasya mukta sango param rajet. So even though this world has so many faults, and every one of us could name so many faults that we see all around us, in others, in ourselves, in the environment we are in, there is still a viable process to realize ourselves and to achieve real knowledge. And the process of attaining knowledge is not really different from the main process, from the devotional service. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Yanaiti Asyu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahaitukam. So by engaging in Bhakti Yoga, according to the prescribed rules, we attain the knowledge. The knowledge is attained, and we automatically gain detachment. Because the process of Bhakti Yoga, we can, like using the example of japa, like we are chanting mantra. Mantra means manana trayate iti mantra. So mantra is about liberating the mind from processing the thoughts, from thinking. Thinking is processing the thoughts. It's not about liberating ourselves from the mind necessarily, because we have the mind that's there, and we will have the mind, either material or spiritual, but the mind we simply have. And it's not about stop the thoughts. We don't want to get rid of thoughts, because the thoughts are there naturally. If we hear, the thoughts are in the background, not in the foreground mind, because if they come to the foreground mind, it's about processing the thoughts. So mantra is about stopping processing our thoughts and using our focus to serve the Supreme. So it's not mind control. We are not trying to like bring the mind back, because that is kind of difficult. and strenuous, we focus on the holy name, distinctly chant and sharply hear, and the potency from the holy name helps us to stay focused on the holy name, because it's not like repeating some mundane word. It's connecting with the name that's not different from the substance. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Nitya Abhinatvam Nama Namino. So it's not different. So the name itself is Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, Sachit Ananda, full of chit potency, Ananda, pleasure, and Sat, eternity or safety. So that was a small discussion of chanting. I could say more, but I won't, because it was plenty. And I would like to sort of end my presentation by one more personal sharing. So recently, because it's summer, so I wanted to spend, the summer days like a vacation, like in a vacation like spirit. And I'm not probably a very dedicated devotee, so I chose a mundane book to read. So I bought this book. It's called Richer, Wiser, and Happier, and it's like a mundane book, and it's and I read like I don't know, 20 pages, and my realization was, oh, this is a pretty good book about investing, and it's probably the best book of this year about investing. At the same time, it feels like a place of pilgrimage for crows, because there is no substance really. It's like some principles, some thoughts about, like, from some famous rich wise people, but like the book is called like Richer, Wiser, and Happier. So it's not cheating, because you can become richer, you can become wiser, you can become happier by applying those principles. Well, the one issue is that it's very difficult to apply principles just based on reading a book. It's a little bit cheating with the books, because if I read it, it does not sink in really, if I'm not like really close to applying the principle before reading the book. Anyhow, yeah, like why should I become rich? Like many people think, okay, I want to become richer, and it's usually like richer than my friends, than my neighbor, than someone else, maybe who I saw on TV, or my brother, sister, like that. And like we can use the wealth for spreading Krishna consciousness. At the same time, it's more about what we leave to ourselves, because Krishna wants that we give all that we have. And like thinking that I will please Krishna more by getting all the wealth of the world to me, and then I will like use it. It's like based on a wrong understanding, that because Krishna owns all the worlds, all the innumerable universes, so for him it does not really matter if I give like $100 or $5 billion. He cares about like how much do I want to save for my sense gratification, and the less the better. So, and like in the last year, I've met like some people which are like in the material estimation quite rich, and they are experiencing various feelings that are described in the Shastra. So of course, like if I get big riches, I have at least two problems. I start to think how to use the money that I have, so that drags the mind to some other thing. And usually I tend to think how to gratify my mind, senses, intelligence. Or often I become scared that I will lose the money. So I will try to protect the wealth. So that also can distract the spirit soul from the connection with the Supreme. So becoming richer might not be a win after all. So okay, then the book says you can become wiser. And Bhakti Yoga is not really about becoming wiser. It's like part of the process. Like we get the knowledge into our heart, and it's like about sincerity, about really wanting to arrive at our destination. Like Queen Kunti prays, Tata Paramahamsana Muninam Amalatmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartam Katam Pashyemahi Sriya. So she's like praying, oh Krishna, you are so great that even we women or the other fallen classes, we can also be engaged, and not only those who are in the renounced order of life on the Paramahamsa stage. So it's not necessarily also about like becoming wiser and happier. That's like many of modern books, because scientists kind of discovered that we really want to become happy. So that's more connected to the experience of the spirit soul, because we want to be happy, and the whole world is designed in a way that we can be happy, because Krishna here instructed Brahma about creation of the material universe, and the intention of Krishna and Brahma is to create the universe in a way that we can achieve the knowledge, that we can achieve the self-realization, the connection with the Supreme. It's not about like endless pain only. It's the goal is self-realization. So Brahma is being engaged in creation of this material place for our benefit. So that's the real happiness. Yes, and the book, like, it's interesting. It contains many principles that seem valid. At the same time, they are without the connection to the Supreme. So it's like the book cannot put all those principles into some perspective, because there is no unifying principle that would bound together those principles. Like the books talks about the principle, like take a simple idea and take it seriously. So that seems like a powerful concept. Like take a simple idea and take it seriously. Like that's Bhagavad Gita, right? In the beginning, I'm told like I'm not the body, I'm the spirit soul. So if I take the idea seriously, it leads to so many other things. If I take this single idea seriously, then the door for self-realization is open. Yeah, like as I said, like we do not need to invent things, because a lot of our time is spent on like trying to invent things, and like the most successful people usually do not invent things. They take something that works and then just use it. So that's what we are advised to do also in the supreme process. Yes, like, and the last thing in the book, like the book talks about the fact that that we cannot predict the future, that we have no idea what comes in the future, and like that might be like very useful principle in investing. At the same time, it's not really true, because we know what happens in the future: old age, disease, and death. That's for sure. So using reason, it makes sense to engage in a process that will help me to overcome these problems, because these problems or this future is for sure. The rest, it can come and it doesn't have to come. So trying for something that might not come is wasted labor. So it's not contained, of course, in the book yet. I'm just in the first half of the book, so I shall see if it says at the end that the future is quite clear. Yes, so that's the greatness of the process that we get to be engaged in, that it's based on certainty in the future that is there, and that we are trying to solve the real problems, and the rest, it will be somehow like either I will have a wife or I will not have a wife, I will have children, I will not have children, I will have a dog or I won't. It does not really matter. So yes, let's close with this. I will read the verse once more, and then I will open it for the discussion. Shri Shuka Uvacha Sampradeshaiva Majano Jananam Paramestinam Pashyatastasya Tatrupam Atmano Nyarunadari. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your listening. And now I welcome you if you want to share something, ask something. I see a hand raised, so please go on.
Right. Yeah, we're good.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. We lost our video now.
Okay.
So I wonder if to have a dog or don't have a dog doesn't matter. I wonder if to have a BMB or don't have a BMB also doesn't matter.
I've understood the question about the dog, and the second thing was what?
BMW.
BMW. Okay. Okay, if it matters or doesn't matter. Well, the bewildered spirit soul thinks that it matters, but it doesn't matter. Well, we still have the dog here. It's not lost. She didn't die. I'm taking care. Yes.
Is it possible that some domestic issues are being introduced into the philosophical
No,
discussion?
I'm only asking, like, because it doesn't matter to have a dog, so I'm asking if it matters to have a cat.
It didn't matter to have a dog, it didn't matter
Even
to
the
have a
wife.
wife.
Exactly.
That's
Like,
what she said.
exactly. So I'm just
I did not understood those sentences at the end. So do you want to be more clear, or should I try to answer, or be like the answer is the silence and that's the answer?
now I'm just making fun. And
Okay.
I was like sincerely curious whether the philosophical principles applies also to other areas of life other than like wife and a dog. Maybe if it applies to finances and cars and things like this.
It does. It does. Like, like putting our faith. It's something that can fail, will create suffering. So that's why we try to engage in the process that will not fail, in the result that will not fail, but to the extent that I'm putting my hopes, like these are the hopes for feeling complete, like by getting a car, getting a dog, getting a housewife, children, friends, like that's just trying to fill in the incompleteness. And it can feel good for some time, but we know what will happen in the future. Like it all will be gone. And if we already have those things, we can use them for our self-realization. And then it becomes more maybe detailed study. Like if I really want dog, let's say dog, I will not use the car. Let's say if I really want a dog and I'm thinking about the dog like every day, every minute, it might be just easier to get the dog, get the experience, to focus on the holy name.
Yeah.
I have a question about that. Let's say I want to drink wine. I love wine, I'm French. And devotees, they do drink wine. Like in France, devotees do drink wine. And so, yeah, during japa, that's what I think about. So if I give that desire, it's better to go and drink wine from your perspective than not drink wine because I'm absorbing in thinking of drinking wine during japa.
Okay. I think we could have a nice sharing circle about what we think about during japa. Okay. And yeah, if you need to drink wine, then at least think about the taste, that the taste of wine is Krishna, and try and like if someone is like really like my a father, for example, like he didn't chant like single mantra in his life, so for him, and he is really fond of drinking wine, so for him it would be progress if he would realize that the taste of the wine is Krishna. For someone who is serious, it's better to give it up, to renounce that. As Prabhupada said, like simply renounce. Simply renounce that. And like, it's not about like stopping thinking about wine during japa. Japa is about focusing on the vibration. Like if I notice that the thought is there, on like thinking about the wine, like about the car, about the dog, and so on, I simply like focus the mind on the vibration, and by the principle of higher taste, the mind will get purified, the soul will get purified. Does that answer your inquiry?
Yes, yes, to some extent, because you say if we think about the dog during japa, we should get the dog. And so I was wondering if I think about wine, should I get the wine? But it seems that you're not treating it the same way.
Yes, because it's like given by Prabhupada, right? And it's in the Shastra that like doing certain things, it is dangerous more than doing other things, because it creates a strong knot in the heart. So some things are better to be given up, and always there is like the principle of higher taste, so we can engage in something better. Yeah, but I'm making distinctions between like various activities.
Thank you, Yogesvara.
I have a question, another question.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. So you are saying like to focus the mind on the vibration, but also during your class you are saying focusing the consciousness on the vibration. And then kind of like the mind is like still doing its thinking, processing thing on the background. So I'm curious about that, because like consciousness and mind are like two different things, and focus
Yes.
consciousness and focus mind. Yes. So
That's a great question. Yeah, like the process is not about the mind really. Like the mind is there, and the mind goes where the consciousness goes. So if I like, if I like like if I engage myself in some activity which I think will bring me a great joy, great pleasure. Like as a boy, I loved to playing games with other boys. So if I was to play some game, like I was constantly thinking about the game. And I wasn't trying to control the mind, because I didn't even know that I have a mind. I simply was fully engaged in the game. So if I come to the understanding, or the more I have of the understanding that chanting or chanting japa will bring me great joy, great pleasure, and it will, because as I'm giving pleasure to Lord Chaitanya and Prabhupada and Krishna, by that I also feel pleasure. So if I have this faith or trust, understanding, then naturally by focusing on it, the mind will be controlled. It's not about the mind. The mind is just needs to be there.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna, this is Dear Govinda Das. Yeah, there are many aspects of your class that I got a lot of value from on different levels, consciousness, intellectual. And one of them is, that, okay, like I chant japa, but I pretty much don't hear japa. And I was moved to think like in my personal practice, my attempts at sadhana, I guess my subjective experience of myself is the sadhana that's most moving, uplifting, transformational for me is when I'm personally, privately reading Prabhupada's books. And so I'm looking at that. And I think it's because some or other, when I'm reading somehow relative to me, my mind's focused. I'm present, and I'm actually hearing. So it's not like reading Prabhupada's books is more potent than chanting japa. But for me, that's my experience. Because when I'm chanting japa, I let my go. Well, this we're getting into the sharing circle now, and I'm not going to be vulnerable and talk about the details. But I let mind go on so many places that have nothing to do with hearing transcendental sound vibration. And so, like, we might say I'm chanting because, as you said, like, that we can train the body to chant, but there's very little hearing happening for me. And whereas when I'm like sitting down with Prabhupada's books, my mind's not going to other places, not absolutely 100%, but more or less my mind is reading. And then like after that 15 or 20 minutes, like I feel the trend, I feel the cleansing of consciousness. Also, again, there were many points of your class that I went very deep for me. Later today at Prabhupada House in Melrose, they've asked me to lead a class, and we'll be leading class and discussion on one of the "We're Not This Body" verses from chapter 2, and because there'll be new people there, so very basic topic. And I like where you focus there, Yogesvara Prabhu, that like this basic knowledge, this basic truth, this basic concept. From that, unlimited other things expand, because it's one thing to get, okay, well, I'm not the body, I'm spirit, soul, even if we don't get it experientially, but even intellectually. But then, oh, okay, well, then that means something. That if I'm really thinking about it deeply, then that indicates about what choices am I making? How am I living my life? What's my purpose? Am I living as that non-material particle that animates the body, or am I still living as if I'm this body like that? And so just from that most fundamental concept, if we really think about it, so many other principles and so many other ways of being, doing, and having naturally flow from that. One more thing, towards the beginning of your class, I liked how you described about the process of self-realization, the process of personal growth, personal development, and it's about bringing that which was not perceived to conscious perception, and essentially that's the effect and function of sattva. We have the name of our institute, Sattva Tov. And the essential function of sattva is bringing that which was not perceived due to covering of ignorance or rajas to conscious awareness. And I liked how you phrased, and I resonate that that's the essence of personal growth process. It's intrinsically a sattvic process. There were many other things about your class too that was illuminating for me. So thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your sharing, like your experience, like about like connection with Prabhupada's books, as you say, like it illustrates the principle of hearing. Like you find yourself focused, like putting your consciousness on Prabhupada's words, and that gives you like a purifying, cleansing, connecting, maybe sheltering experience. Yes, and yeah, like I quite often have like a sheltering experience, because the sentences they force me to read, to like really be to really know what I'm reading, because it's quite difficult to just use the eyes to like skim the text and to not really like get to know anything. So yeah, so that's the experience of reading a book, and yeah, like we have a chance to do the same with chanting the holy name, either in kirtan or in japa. And one thing I wanted to add to it. Oh my God, my mind is not very strong. Yes, like engaging in the sound vibration. Like that's like surrendering to Krishna, to Prabhupada. Like if I engage my reading, hearing, knowing in reading Prabhupada's books for those, I don't know, few minutes that I do it every day, I'm like surrendering myself, and the more I do it each day, the more purify I get. And I get these two activities as one and the same in a sense, because as I read about Krishna from Prabhupada's books about the soul, then I get more faith in chanting of the holy names. It's like I get to understand who is Krishna, that he's like the most important person, the most strong, the richest, the wisest, the most renounced, and so on. So I cultivate my relationship, and then when I chant, I have faith. I have faith that I'm connecting with this supreme person, because, like we've read in the text, that after instructing Brahmaji, supreme personality of God that disappeared. At the same time, there are, like we could say, the supreme personality of God that was still present with Brahma, at least in his heart. So when I chant, like the Krishna becomes present before me. So the more I have faith in his presence before me, and the more I know who Krishna is, the more consciousness, the more focus I put into hearing and chanting. It's like if a supreme it, it it's like if some VIP, some very important person visited my house, right? So if it's like person who I regard as great and perfect, and I want to be with him, then I will naturally put my consciousness on being with him, on serving him. So if I like, and when Krishna comes, it's like more than VIP. It's like supremely important person. So the more I have this realization, it helps. It helps in the process of chanting and hearing, and then the chanting and hearing helps us in reading Prabhupada's books. So I'm regarding these two as like supporting each other. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
I have a comment. It helped me, Govinda Prabhu, when you shared your example with chanting versus reading. That like the experience of like I do the chanting and hearing at the same time,
Yeah.
like when you are reading. So that helped me like more understand the concept that Yogesvara Prabhu is talking about.
Yeah.
Like, and I can do reading and not hearing for sure. Not
Yeah.
always, but I can do it. I've done it a lot. But like where is my chanting and hearing together is when I'm singing, and when I'm singing outside in the street.
Yeah.
That's like my main chanting and hearing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise It's just chanting at best.
Right. So like when you're leading kirtan, especially in the street, then you're present, you're absorbed, not necessarily like the Loka Vrindavan absorbed, but
Focus.
that's your you're in the zone there. You're in the zone there. That's where you feel, and it's like we can explain it scientifically. That's where you're focused on the chanting and the hearing. Your mind is pretty much not distracted by the other stuff, like when I'm reading. So yeah, so it's like it's Yogesvara's presentation. My comment, it's helping you to kind of see yourself in relation to the different different processes of bhakti.
Yeah, and also like understanding the concept, and also maybe understanding that like yeah, for me like to focus on japa, like I try, but it's like in compared to sing on the street. So like okay, this is natural and this is almost impossible.
Yeah.
So like to like probably like follow my psychophysical nature and do more of like where I can do direct chanting and hearing than to try to force myself do hearing where it's just really hard. So that's what I'm taking.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And it makes sense what you are sharing, right? Because like chanting on the street, like your mind, as Dira Govinda said, is naturally controlled. You are not going to the street with the aim, oh, now I will control my mind for the 30 minutes, but by your engagement, the mind is automatically controlled. And yes, like the more you spend time on the street, the more you will become able to hear also in those other activities and processes, and it makes sense in to use that which we are naturally good at for the progress, and of course to like keep the vow of chanting at least 16 rounds, either unconsciously or consciously, not to chant. And like there is a interesting experience of many like those who come to the devotional service, like they start to chant, and in the beginning often the experience is great because they need to focus on the mantra. Like in the beginning, all of us, we needed some focus on the words, because even though it's simple, it takes some practice to get the words right, and this was the part of our life when we were hearing, because we needed to get the mantra right, and then it like depends on how distracted we get or engage in processing the thoughts. But in the beginning, like many devotees have like this very joyful experience, which then wanes, maybe also because of the loss of hearing. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm, like as you said, like one of a great example of what one can think about while chanting, but that's the goal, to hear.
Hare Krishna. I have a question, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I was wondering, because in the verse where it says that in the transcendental world, the land, the water, the tree, the mountain, the river, the man, the animal, and the bird, and everything are all of the same quality. And so therefore everything is individual and personal. So I'm wondering, because I think I heard you in your lecture talk about things being impersonal. So is that in the material world, those same things are impersonal? Or like what makes something personal and what makes something impersonal is what I'm trying to understand.
Okay. Thank you for your question. And I think what I'm taking from these 4 seed verses and this verse and purport is that if I realize that everything is connected with the supreme source, then it becomes then it becomes personal. So there is, in a sense, there is nothing that would be impersonal, because they're just the they're just our fault that we do not see the connection with the supreme. So does this help?
So what I think I'm understanding is, like, if I choose to, in a way, I also look at it like, if I choose to use something for my own personal gratification, then it becomes impersonal. But if I choose to connect it to Krishna, then it becomes personal.
Yeah, it becomes personal because it becomes about Krishna. So it becomes personal. And of course, like, we can make more distinctions like this, because the spiritual world is Chintamani Dham, so it's different quality than the material world. So there is also qualitative distinction in the substance. At the same time, that's the practical aspect. Like, it becomes personal when it's in connection with the real self.
I appreciate the discussion very much. Yeah, because like there's that term, I guess, become more and more popular over the decades, to objectify. To objectify it means like, this is an object for my gratification. I'm not relating to this person as a person, even if it's a man or a woman like that. But objectified, and I'm relating as my gratification, and yes, and I like that, the Yogesvara, that you related it on. Yeah, it's even more eternal, essential, esoteric level. Chintamani prakara sadmusa kapavixas. Like, of course, in material life, so it's common. Some men will name their cars. They'll give their car a name of a woman. So the car becomes the person, and the woman is the object. Okay, so it's like it's all backwards.
Our car's name is Garuda.
Okay, so that's transcendental. So so as Yogeshwar is saying, quoting from the previous purport, the Chintamani verse. So every atom is alive. Every atom. So whatever they use to their cars, where their airplanes, they're persons. Krishna's flute is a person. Here, a flute is an object. It's a piece of wood. It's a piece of wood. Krishna's flute is a person. Krishna's peacock feather is a person. So that gets a little esoteric, but it's ontologically true. And yeah, I appreciate the discussion.
It's conscious.
Conscious, knowledge, conscious, yeah,
There's
Chaitanya.
consciousness everywhere.
Yeah.
There's no, like, basically in the spiritual world, there's consciousness everywhere, and there is no unconsciousness. And in this world, there is a lot of unconsciousness, and that's what makes it impersonal. And it's inert. The external energy of the Lord is inert.
Means impersonal.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, thank you for spending your time together, and Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shraddha ki jai.
Thank you.
Hare Bol.